Chapter 25, 10 Downing Street. Wake up! I jolted awake, still fully dressed for the night before. I looked at Jane, bleary-eyed and hungover. Breakfast, I muttered. There's no time for breakfast. Jane was rushing around the room. We've overslept and have to leave in 10 minutes. The only reason I'm awake is Mum phoned. This was not good. My suit trousers were rumpled and stained from the after party. My clean shirt was still creased and I had the beginnings of the worst hangover in the world. To make it all worse, there was no time for even a quick mug of tea. While Jane was getting her things ready and doing a better job than me, I realised all I had to wear were my blue jeans and the creased shirt. I had the world's quickest face wash and pulled my clothes on, hoping my jacket would cover the worst of the creases. I was barely decent before the phone rang. It was the front reception to say that our car was there and waiting for us. As we ran to the lift, we saw some of the other award winners too. At least we weren't the only ones running late. The lady from Cosmopolitan greeted us in reception, saying she'd heard that my speech stole the show. She then looked at me, taking in my pale face, rumpled clothing. I don't need to ask if you enjoyed yourself then, she smiled. Jane just stood there. She was not impressed with me. Jane looked very presentable and smart. I don't know how she managed it, but she looked great. We all piled into the car for the journey to 10 Downing Street. A few people said they noticed that I got drunk rather quickly. Layla said she'd spoken to me towards the end of the night, and although I was slurring my words, I was still pleasant company in my defence. I had been up since 3:30 in the morning for work before going to the awards. The conversation soon moved on to how much Jane had got from the gift suite. She laughed and said that one of the celebrity guests who had been so impressed by our story that she'd blagged her in as well. I asked who, and it turned out to be none other than my old crush, Angela Griffin. Jane proceeded to tell everyone about my crush on Angela, and added that they had planned to sneak up on me and Angela was going to pinch my bum. I looked at Jane in surprise and cursed my drinking. I could have had my bum pinched by Angela Griffin, but I was asleep on the sofa instead. As we got closer to Downing Street, the woman from Cosmopolitan briefed us on the security measures and protocol we would need to follow. I had visions of a picture of me throwing up outside number 10 splashed across the newspapers. I could imagine the sort of dressing down Nan would have given me. The taxi dropped us about 50 metres from Downing Street. Since the 1980s, cabs haven't been allowed to get close to the entrance of number 10 for security reasons. It was the height of the IRA bombing campaign on the mainland, and they favoured car bombs as their weapon of choice. We walked up to number 10 and entered through the famous black door. It was bigger than I thought it would be. Because of the high security levels, we all had to bring our passports for identification. I laughed to myself, thinking it would be funny if I still had the same old curtains hairstyle as I sported in my passport photo. I remember going to America on holiday with my parents when I was in my teens and remarking that you could just walk through the checkpoints, at which point customs were on us like, well, anything. They went through our luggage with a fine-tooth comb. I did not want to upset Jane, so I kept my mouth firmly shut. Once we were past security, our jackets were taken and hung away. My creased shirt was now firmly on display. As we were shown to a sitting room, I saw a Radio 1 disc jockey, Reggie Yates. He'd been on the judging panel for the awards. We chatted briefly about the awards. He said he'd looked for me at the party, but when he found me I was asleep on the sofa. I looked sheepishly and laughed. It was then I spotted my salvation. I was hungover and hadn't eaten since the day before. It was a plate of chocolate bourbons next to a large pot of tea. I was already on my second cup of tea before most people were halfway through their first cup and going through the biscuits like they were going out of fashion. The biscuits were good, but the tea was not so good. I prefer a stronger brew, but it was better than nothing. I was on my third cup when James nudged me. The official who had escorted us into the room was back. He stood by the door and said, "May I introduce Mrs. Cameron?" Everyone stood as she entered the room. You could hear people's posture improving instantly. Everyone stood at me. I was not trying to be rude or make a point. I was just too busy trying not to throw up. But as Samantha Cameron sat down, so did everyone else, and I didn't look too out of place. We all sat together and each of the winners told their story. Samantha Cameron knew how to put people at their ease and the conversation flew rapidly by. It got quite emotional. No matter how many times you hear certain stories, it still brings a tear to your eye. By the time the conversation turned to Jane and me, I was on my fifth or sixth cup of tea and well into double figures on the biscuits. They were very nice, these biscuits. Jane and I told our story, and I added that in the grand scheme of things, it didn't have the impact or the work of the other ladies. I was thinking especially of Layla's work, but Samantha interrupted me saying she thought our story was very moving, very touching. I was so shocked at her personal interest in us. I just blurted out, honestly, I didn't think I would last this long after my accident, but thanks to my family, including Jane, I am here now. There was a moment of silence where everyone digested what I'd admitted. I munched another biscuit. Then Samantha broke the silence, saying that our story would make a good film. Yes, I agreed with her. I am writing a book. So lucky to be alive and have Jane in my life. Samantha just suggested that we all have a quick break before the group photographs were taken. Megan and Ed came over to chat with me. Megan asked if I'd planned my speech last night. I said no. It was just spontaneous. I kept a careful eye on the waiters. They were restocking the bourbon biscuits plate. I don't think they'd ever seen a guest demolish so many biscuits. Before I knew it, it was time for the group photographs. As the winners lined up the Prime Minister's wife, I stood back and watched. Jane was really a award winner, not me. But I got called over to join the lineup. I looked a bit out of place, the only man among so many women. Then some of the judges, including Reggie Yates, joined in the lineup, so I wasn't so out of place anymore. As we left, Samantha said goodbye to everyone individually and thanked us for coming to tea with her. She and Jane spoke about motherhood for a few moments, and then she encouraged me to keep writing. We stopped on the steps for official photographs, and I saw the paparazzi at the main gates trying to get a good shot for us all. While some of the other winners were having their pictures taken, I approached Reggie and asked if he'd mind getting a few pictures with Jane. He readily agreed and happily posed with her. After a couple of shots, he put his arm round her. Easy, mate, she's married, I joked. His response was to pull her in even tighter for the next picture. He certainly had a good sense of humour and was a really approachable bloke. As we left Downing Street, I remember thinking to myself about how proud Nan would have been. I wondered how my life would have turned out if I hadn't been in the accident and had reached Barcelona. Jane had definitely made my life a happy accident. Dad once again had agreed to be our driver and agreed to pick us up from the hotel that afternoon. We had been dropped back there and quickly ran to the nearest fast food restaurant. I got the largest box of chicken nuggets they sold, plus fries, milkshake and ice cream. I was ravenous. Jane ate nearly as much as me, although she wasn't hungover. She had missed breakfast too. It was good to see Dad when he arrived at the hotel, even though we'd only been away for a night. It felt like I'd been on a different planet. He couldn't believe all the bags of boxes and freebies that Jane had got at the event. Even the hotel porters thought we'd gone mad doing our Christmas shopping. Our first stop was with Jane's mum, Angela. She'd been babysitting for us and we both missed them. I hadn't realised just how much I would miss not singing with them. You Are My Sunshine had become a ritual bonding moment for me with the twins and something I look forward to every day, which I even do now. Fish was home when we got to Angela's. We sat down for a quick cup of tea and recounted our adventures. For Fish, the most important part was meeting Cher Lloyd and telling her what a big fan he was. I even reenacted my speech, including the kiss. But most importantly, we were back with Olivia and Louis. They'd been asleep when we arrived, but awoke at the end of my speech. It reminded me that you can have all the awards in the world. Nothing is more important than being a good father. I walked to the cab with Dad to unload all of Jane's goodies. Even he turned to me and started explaining how it still surprised me that I was still here. How he was still able to talk to me because on the day of the accident, He thought he'd lost me forever. My dad was a joker, not a man to talk about his feelings, so this really floored me. I gave him a quick hug, and as he got into a cab, he looked back at me and chuckled. Happy accident. I ran into the house. It's going to be called Happy Accident. Angela looked confused, as did Fish. He's talking about his book, Jane called out, busy with the twins. Oh, said Angela. Sounds like a film. Don't get him started, sighed Jane.